Hi, my name is Michelle Campbell, and I'm going to be talking about the way that social media has a big influence over journalism and the way that the journalists will give out news and the way that the public will receive news. And I'm going to focus specifically on everybody's favorite bird, Twitter. Now, of course, journalism's style has been changing just as technology has been changing and the way that the internet has been changing. And with that, there must be new ways that people receive and get information. Of course, it's pretty much impossible for any good journalist not to have a Twitter or maintain a social media presence. It's good for outreach for different audiences, and a lot of jobs need people who will live tweet events, different ways of receiving information. With Twitter comes a great responsibility, though, and it has a lot of good and bad for journalists and everyone really alike. Some of the good that comes from having a Twitter is the outreach to many people, as I said before, and the way to remain in constant conversation with the public and get news out a lot faster. And you can find information that you wouldn't normally be able to find, and you can have a great variety of sources on a site like Twitter. With that being said, there also are a lot of negatives to a journalist using Twitter and getting information from Twitter. As we've seen from all the tweets that come from President Trump, a lot of people take them as face value and as fact, but we must remember that it's just a 140 character limit from somebody who can say whatever they want, journalists included. Twitter can also be dangerous because it adds fuel to the fire of wanting to get the information out first. It doesn't matter if it's right, it just has to be out first before anybody else, because that's how high paced our media consumption is nowadays with social media and with the internet. So Twitter can be dangerous of newsrooms sending out tweets just to be the first ones to break the news and then winding up to be incorrect. And that is definitely not something that will keep your public wanting to keep coming to you and keep you credible as a journalist. The lines of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable online, especially Twitter, can get very fuzzy and are pretty subjective, especially for somebody who is a journalist. Because on one hand, your newsroom wants you to be personable and have a personality and get followers to drive traffic to the site, but on the other hand, you are a label for the company, so one sloppy tweet could send you and the company straight into a lawsuit. Twitter is usually a place where people can talk about their opinions and their takes on things going on in society and the world, but for journalists, it can be very sticky to weigh in on what you personally think, because we are supposed to remain unbiased. Journalists have been under fire a lot lately for tweets that they've been putting out on their own accounts. Breitbart writer Katie McHugh has been fired for some questionable tweets that she put up on her Twitter following the London Bridge terrorist attacks. CNN host Reza Aslan has received very heavy criticism from a tweet that he posted containing some interesting language about President Trump. And Denver Post reporter Terry Fry was also fired for a tweet that he made about a Japanese driver winning the Indy 500. And even LBC radio host Katie Hopkins was fired for a tweet when she asked for a final solution to Islamic terrorism. And all of these tweets were put on their own personal Twitter accounts, which means that they should be able to say and do what they want, I guess, but maybe they're held to a different standard because they're journalists, and whatever they say will reflect negatively on the company or newsroom that they are affiliated with. But I guess that's where the lines can get a little fuzzy. The brevity of Twitter may make it appealing, but it also can be very easy to misconstrue someone's words in such a short limit, 140 characters. It can be very difficult to defend what you were trying to say or to twist what somebody was attempting to say and turn it negatively, especially with the current political climate and the attack on journalists. We must be very careful about the things that we say on social media. Twitter can be a great tool for journalists if used correctly. You can reach out to a wide range of people in brief, short blurbs that can really pull them into the real issues. But unfortunately, Twitter is not the place to be talking about the nuances of such big issues like politics and society, because things can be easily misconstrued. And we're not there to be activists, we're there to be reporters. That's our job as journalists. And just like Politico managing editor Sudeep Reddy says, think before you tweet. Make sure that you're not going to say anything that can be used against you and the company that you represent, because that's what we do as journalists. We get the facts and we boil it down to the truth, and we try to just leave it at that. Social media has changed the face of journalism, and it's important that we change with it. We're still figuring out the good and the bad of it and how to weed out how to use everything to our best ability. But we must remember to maintain and uphold the integrity of journalism, which is always to seek the truth and to then give that to the public, nothing more. And especially during this time when we have a president who is so hell-bent on shutting us up, we need to make sure we remain above the battle and we become the bigger man. Because I don't think it's going to happen the other way around.